All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we are going to tackle something huge, the original 2008 paper that kicked off a revolution. We're talking about Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system written by the legendary and still mysterious Satoshi Nakamoto.
Okay, let's just park on this for a second, because this one sentence, right from the very beginning of the paper, it lays out this incredibly ambitious goal to create digital cash that works just like physical cash. No banks, no credit card companies, no middlemen, just a direct person-to-person transfer of value.
So, to really get why this was such a game changer, we first have to understand the core problem Nakamoto was trying to solve. And it's a weakness that's baked right into the financial systems we use every single day. So, the paper basically lays out this showdown, right? On one side, you've got the standard trust-based model. That's your bank. The big issue here is that transactions can be reversed, which leads to higher costs, fraud, and it forces merchants to collect way more of your personal data than you'd like. On the other side is this new idea, a model based purely on cryptographic proof. The goal? Irreversible payments that protect sellers and, most importantly, cut out that middleman entirely. And here is the absolute heart of the problem. Without a central authority like a bank watching over everything, what's to stop someone from spending the same digital dollar twice? I mean, with a physical dollar bill, once you hand it over, it's gone from your pocket. But a digital file? You can just copy and paste it. Solving this double spend problem, that's the whole ballgame. All right, so how does the paper even start to solve this? Well, it begins by defining what an electronic coin even is. And trust me, it's probably not what you're thinking. See, the paper says a coin isn't some file sitting on your computer. It's way cooler than that. It's actually a record of ownership, a history of who has owned it, passed from one person to the next. The best analogy is kind of like the title deed for a car, where each new owner's name gets added to the document, creating this long, unbroken chain of history. And here's how that transfer actually works. It sounds a little technical, but the idea is brilliant. Basically, each owner uses their unique secret key, think of it as a password, to digitally sign the coin over to the next owner's public address. This signature then gets tacked on to the end of the coin's history, creating a new link in that chain. The best part? Anyone can look at this chain of public signatures and verify who the current rightful owner is. Okay, so we've got this really elegant chain of signatures. Problem solved, right? Well, not quite. This brings us right back to the billion-dollar question, the fundamental problem that still needs a solution. How do you, the person receiving the coin, know for sure that the person who sent it to you didn't just copy it and also send it to someone else 5 minutes earlier? How do you know the version you just got is the one and only version? And the paper's answer is kind of mind-blowing in its simplicity. It says, the only way to be absolutely sure is to see a single public history of every single transaction that has ever happened. If everyone can see everything, then you can easily check and confirm that the coin you just got hasn't already been spent somewhere else. But that begs the question, who maintains this public history? So, if you need a public history that everyone can trust, but you don't have a central bank to manage it, how on earth do you do it? This is where the paper drops its big, game-changing, revolutionary idea. This is the engine that makes the whole thing run. The solution is called proof of work. The core idea is to make people spend real-world resources, we're talking raw CPU power and electricity, to earn the right to add a new block of transactions to that public record. And because it takes so much real, costly work to add a block, it would take an absolutely astronomical amount of work to go back and try to change one. I love this quote from the paper because it totally reframes how you think about making decisions in a decentralized system. The majority vote on what the correct history of transactions isn't based on who you are or how many accounts you have. It's based purely on who has the most raw computing power. And this all leads to a beautifully simple rule. The longest chain of transaction blocks wins. That's it. Why? Because the longest chain is, by definition, the one that has the most computational work, the most proof of work invested in it. If an attacker wanted to change the past, they wouldn't just have to redo the work for that one block. They'd have to redo all the work for every single block that came after it, and do it faster than the entire rest of the network combined. And the paper actually runs the numbers on this, and the math is just wild. It shows that an attacker's chance of succeeding drops off a cliff the further back in time they try to go.
I mean, look at this. Even if someone controlled 30% of the entire network's power, their chance of changing a transaction that's just 24 blocks old is less than 1/10 of 1%. It becomes practically impossible really fast.
Okay, so we have the solution. Proof of work makes the history secure. Now let's zoom in on how this whole network actually, well, works day to day. How do all these computers spread all over the world coordinate with each other? It's really like a 6-step dance that just happens over and over without any central choreographer. First, new transactions get shouted out to everyone on the network. Then, each computer or node gathers them up into a potential block. Then the race is on. Everyone starts burning electricity to solve that difficult proof of work puzzle for their block. When one node finds a solution, it broadcasts its winning block to everyone else. The other nodes check it to make sure it's all legit, and if it is, they accept it and immediately start working on the next block, building right on top of the one that was just found. But wait a minute. Why would anyone on Earth dedicate their expensive computer and pay their electricity bill to do all this hard work? It's a great question, and the answer is pure genius: incentives. It's set up like a digital gold rush. The node that finds the proof of work gets rewarded with brand new coins created out of thin air. They also get to collect any transaction fees. This makes it way more profitable to be honest, play by the rules, and help secure the network than it is to try and attack it. Now, you might be thinking, okay, if all these transactions are public for everyone to see, what about privacy? Well, the paper has a really interesting take on this. Instead of hiding the transactions like a bank does, this model flips the script. All the transactions are public, but the identities behind them are kept anonymous. So anyone can see that some amount was sent from address A to address B, but nobody has any idea who actually owns address A or address B. And that really brings us to the biggest takeaway here. This paper, at its core, isn't just about a new kind of money. It's a blueprint for a system that doesn't need a trusted middleman. It presents a world where trust is replaced by cold, hard cryptographic proof. And that leaves us with a huge question. What does it mean for our world? The possibilities, and maybe the dangers, when we realize we can apply that powerful idea to a whole lot more than just cash.